We have others in the room as well: Andrew, David, Caroline, Karen, Ali, and Kevin in the corner, not at the table. Paul Haslam joining us online, as indeed is Andrew Lee. So welcome. So welcome to everybody. Do we have any apologies for absence? Right. Okay. Minutes of the meeting held on the 3rd of February. Are you happy I sign those for the true record? I'm seeing nods around the table. Okay, thank you. Anybody got any declarations of interest, please? Michael first.
Thank you, Leader. I've got a prejudicial interest in the Treasury Management section of the papers, as my employer is listed in those papers, but I rely on an exemption that's been granted by the Standards Committee to stay in the meeting and vote.
Okay, thank you. Mal, you're next.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I'll declare an interest in item number 8 as a shareholder and a family member as a director of the football club.
Okay, please.
Yeah, my usual interest in case the discussion moves on to second terms, got dispensation from the Standards Committee.
Any others? No. So item 4 is public questions and statements, and there are none. So that takes us straight into item 5, which is the Q3 performance and budget monitoring report. So we'll do this in our usual fashion. I'll come to Heather first for a brief introduction to it, and then in the normal way we'll do each ambition in turn. I'll come to my executive colleagues first to see if there's anything that they want to add to the report, and then I'll come to you, Karen, as Chair of Scrutiny Board for any questions. Thank you. So can we start then, please, Heather, over to you.
Thank you, Leader. This direction of travel is wholly positive, I think. There's various items that have been highlighted for each portfolio, or one of the 5 areas that we group these into across them. So hopefully we'll be able to answer some questions, and it is once again good to see some progress on the housing revenue account, and I know that that's a particularly important part of our performance, as it is reviewed very thoroughly by the regulatory authorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. So let's go straight into the themes then. So the first one is thriving and empowered communities, starting on page 19. So any of my colleagues want to come in first on this? Simon, please.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Just to highlight, if I might, the fact that our new super mobile library is operational, and that in an age where all anybody seems to talk about are cuts to public services, we've actually added 18 new stops. So on top of the 24 that were being serviced, there are 18 new villages and communities that are being visited by our mobile library. It's a fantastic service, and I think it's been very well received, but I'd like to publicise it as much as possible. And the point that I always make when I get the chance, for those who don't know, you do not have to be a member of our library service to sign up on the bus and join our library. So if you're not a member, it calls in your village, get on the bus and sign up, and you can take a book out there and then. But very, very pleased with that, Leader.
Thank you, Sergeant. Mark, please.
Just wanted to mention town investment plans. We've got 32 of these that are going to take place during this year, and already the team have made a start in 23 of them with some very positive feedback in various areas of the county. So I think that's a good news story. I'd like to congratulate Nick and the team for what they've done there.
Anybody else? Okay, in that case, Karen, can I come to you, please?
Good morning, everybody. On thriving places and empowered communities, we have a couple of questions. If I start with Councillor Andrew Williams.
Yes, morning, Leader. I thought it was more important to come here than it was to come to the pancake races this morning. On page 22 of the report, what more can be done to reduce shop vacancy rates, particularly in Scarborough and Malton?
Okay, who's going to pick that one up, Mark, please?
Yeah, we've recently done a piece of work to look at the vacancy rates in Scarborough, Malton and indeed across most of the county. And the perhaps surprising news is that in Scarborough and Malton, they are in line with the national average. And in some of our towns and villages, particularly towns, they're below the national average. That said, Andrew, the national average is still higher than we would like it to be. And I do think that we are, and I have to say that the Scarborough figure excludes the Brunswick, which is being redeveloped. If you put Brunswick back in, the figures would be worse, to be absolutely honest with you, but that's closed and is, well, we're hoping it will be redeveloped and will be a significant boost for Scarborough. One of the things that we are looking at is whether we can get a hold of some property and make it available for people who want to start up business. You'll have seen this scheme working elsewhere. It's something that we are looking at and would like to do. And we've got another plan for Scarborough where we'd like to do some work with the owners of those shops. And remember, at the moment, we own no shops in Scarborough, so the council doesn't set the business rate and clearly doesn't set the rents either. So whilst the figure, as I say, it's only a fraction, it's only I think 0.1% above the national average, I think it's something that we can do more on, and we would like to work with both the community and the owners of those properties to get some of those properties back into life and make Scarborough and Malton and other places more thriving communities. But I do think members will have to understand that going forward, high streets will not be what we have known. Whilst growing up, we have seen massive increase in the likes of Amazon, etc., which has clearly had an impact on high streets. And more they are becoming places of cafes and places for people to meet.
We have a couple of questions from Councillor Steve Fairwright.
Thanks, Chair. It's on the outreach live stream community project engagement numbers, page 23. Why has performance increased in this area so dramatically? And what are the variations in performance across the country?
Okay, who wants to handle that one?
No concern.
Steve, you've only come to one meeting. You was inside.
I should have gone for pancakes. That's what you should have. Definitely right, Gary. Yes, I checked. Don't worry. If it had been wrong, I'd have rung you. You know. I know my sums. If you look at the slides, it sort of goes like that, and then it jumps up. If you want, you can answer.
Well, I can say that. So the live stream. You had an upgrade there, so that we continue marketing up, but I think it's.
We were looking at whether it's clicks, hits, or people are actually staying to linger on the pages and stuff rather than just it whizzing.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that was important. And if you could supply that detail later, then
I'll get some more detail for you.
Yeah. And then the second question is definitely for Simon. Households assessed as homeless on page 26. What actions are we taking with the private sector to prevent evictions?
Thank you. Through you, leader. So we have a range of actions we take with landlords. I guess the ideal point is prevention in the first place. So this is why we always encourage contact as early as possible in the process. So we try to negotiate with landlords if eviction notices are served. Obviously, there'll be some changes in legislation coming through shortly that will also help with that. We will renegotiate, we will provide security. We might also pay rent and those sorts of actions. If eviction does come through and we do have a homelessness duty, then we have other actions with landlords such as providing bonds, again, paying rent, negotiated supplementary. We have a Thank you. So I don't know why they come on and off, but I think in a nutshell, we have a number of prevention to try and stop it happening and working negotiated with the landlord. And then if homelessness does occur, we have a number of routes, but it is worth just stressing those private sector options are greatly diminishing and they continue to diminish. And that's why we see temporary housing measures increasing against the stats, even though presentations are broadly static.
I could just add to that, Steve, that's why, despite everything we do, we see an increased number quarter on quarter in the use of temporary accommodation, bed and breakfast. We're trying to ameliorate that. Decision coming to Nick shortly to purchase some more units of temporary accommodation, but the options become ever more limited. The more we can provide ourselves, the better it is for those who find themselves in need of temporary accommodation. Better it is for the council because it's a very expensive option.
Karen, any more questions on thriving places and empowered communities?
No, there aren't. Thank you.
Okay. In that case, can I move us on to sustainable and connected places? Page 33. Any of my colleagues want to add anything to the report? Richard, please.
It's just that with the missed bin collections, I think we're finally getting on top of this. We haven't got everywhere perfect. As you move on around, something else sometimes gets missed, but we seem to have got a lot more control over it now. And we're looking. In order to get closer to our eventual goal of having all harmonised bin collection and recycling collection across the area.
Thank you, Richard. Anybody else want to come in? No. Okay, in that case, Karen, can I come to you, please? Are there any questions for sustainable and connected places theme?
Yes, we have with Councillor David Hugo has a couple of questions he would like to ask.
Yeah, good morning. Just a couple of questions on waste. Obviously, as a climate change champion, it is something that I am really interested in, and certainly a lot of members and residents there. We've seen, looking at page 41, we seem to be getting still a fair bit of residual waste collected curbside. Why isn't that coming down? And secondly, just on the landfill situation, I did think those days had gone. Have we got no I realise it's probably an overcapacity thing at Allerton Park, but have we got no other ways of dealing with it apart from going to landfill? Thank you.
Yeah, so on the first question, we'd always like to recycle more. We are getting more residual waste, and so we're going to do a new waste strategy. Now we're sort of getting towards having harmonised waste. But we're also continually going to be working on the comms to this. It always seems to be, can you persuade people to put the right thing in the right bin? And I'm not sure I still know, and I should really know which goes where. So the BBC are doing a bin day, I believe, next Wednesday. We'll be taking part in that along with the Rotters, I think, in order to make sure we're putting the right thing in the right bin on the right day. So it really is just getting that message out there, what can be recycled, what can't be recycled, and trying to lower that residual waste amount down as much as possible and make sure it's going the right way. As far as the Allerton Park, it has shut down times. We try wherever possible to use then another energy from waste facility. It's not always possible, and as a last resort we do go to landfill. What we're trying to do is there are more energy from waste plants coming online. And one of the things we're trying to make sure that we do is that we don't shut them down at the same time. So therefore we can have extra capacity, use extra capacity in each of theirs, and they can also use extra capacity in ours when. So I think it's a case of watch this space. Hopefully we will get that down to lower and lower as time goes on, as more facilities are available. I think one of the things to remember is Allerton Park produces 65,000, enough energy for 65,000 homes across North Yorkshire. That's coming from rubbish. It's not ideal. Like we say, we'd much prefer a lot less residual waste, but when we do get it, at least we are utilising that for a lot of the time.
Thank you, Richard. Aaron, are there any more questions on this?
David, do you have a second question? We put them all into one, sorry.
Yeah.
My fault. Okay.
The only thing I was going to add is obviously it's quite useful to see that the sort of the waste side of things, but with the graph and such like. But it would be useful to see where we are with actual recycling rates as well, just so we can sort of keep on top of that to see if these recycling rates are climbing.
Sure, we can look at put into another graphic.
Only shows part of the picture because it relates to the amount of recycling that we take through the Allerton Waste Recovery Plant, which is quite a small number, usually around 2% of the waste that goes through there, but there is a much bigger number in terms of overall waste recycling. Can't remember the exact number as I sit here, but I think it's round about sort of 45%, but can certainly send you the information to show what that looks like over time. Because Richard has said, the intention is obviously to increase that, reduce the amount of residual waste through the new recycling strategy and the rollout of a harmonised collection arrangement, and we're starting to see the benefits of that now.
Okay, thank you. Can we move on then, please, to safe, healthy and living well? Any of my colleagues got any things they want to add? Michael, please.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Can I just highlight on page 56 of the report the housing with care and the work that's ongoing to transition to our new extra care and supported living procurement. Members will know that we've been a trailblazer in North Yorkshire for extra care housing over the last 20 years, and we approved a significant capital outlay last year to move this programme on to its next phase. And this just highlights the work that's ongoing to bring the next generation of extra care and supported living housing forward, with requests for information going out to the wider extra care developer market to see what interest is out there to partner with us to bring forward the next level, the next investment in these schemes. And this will include changing our model from what we've done previously, where appropriate, to invest in different types of schemes, smaller schemes, and more housing for adults working age adults who there's a distinct shortage of suitable accommodation in the county.
Thank you, Michael. Anybody else? Janet, please.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that numbers of referrals are at last starting to fall, and I'm hopeful, if not quietly confident, that although we're still seeing challenges in the system, we're at last beginning to see a more positive direction. So as we see that child protection plans come down and the numbers of children in care should also come down.
Thank you, Janet. Anybody else, please? Annabelle, please. Thank you, Annabelle. If there's nobody else, then I'll come to you, Karen. Do you have some questions?
Yes, we have a number of questions on safe, healthy and living well. I'll start with Councillor Caroline Goodrick.
Good morning, Leader. I noticed on page 44 that referrals to children's social care have improved because of the performance of maths. And I want to note that this positive impact is welcome on this. Referrals to children's social care on page 44. I've noted the improved performance of MAST and the positive impact that it's having elsewhere in the system. So I'd like to just put that on record that that's really good. The next question is from Councillor Brodigan, but as she's the outgoing chair, and she was looking at the number of looked after children on page 48. This has increased to 600, and there is a very clear upward trend in this department, but we wanted to know what the council was doing to address the increase in the numbers, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Caroline, you're quite right to highlight the number of referrals, and as you point out, it does have a knock-on effect across the whole system. So across the first 3 quarters of 2025-26, the referrals have fallen by 12% in comparison to the same period in the previous performance year, which is good news. Work through the Safeguarding Children's Partnership and multi-agency screening team, as strengthened practice and decision making is bearing fruit. Importantly, this in turn ensures children are offered help at the lowest appropriate level, which then enables the social working teams to focus their specialist interventions on those children and families that actually need it the most. So yes, it does have a knock-on effect, and we definitely welcome this direction of travel. As to Barbara Brodigan's question about the number of children coming into care, absolutely right to highlight this. Children and families have seen an increase of children coming into care during Q3, which has now reached over 600 children for the first time. Many of these children have been part of sibling groups, and as mentioned in response to the previous question, leaders are implementing plans to ensure children get the help they need at the lowest appropriate level, which then again enables social work teams to focus the work with those children and families that need it. So that has a knock-on effect with the referrals. And as we see child protection plans come down, the number of children in care should come down too. And our strategy has always been to keep children with their own families where it's safe to do so. But it's worth noting that North Yorkshire still have a relatively low rate at 52 children per 10,000 of head, with the national being 74. So we're one of the lowest in the country. And as you know, we've been working through breakthrough plans, and this is now hopefully starting to pay off. So hopefully we will see those numbers. As I say, we're not there yet. We know that we've got an issue with this,
I think the numbers are rising, but I do think it's starting to rise slower than what we've been doing. So hopefully we'll get a plateau. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Karen, any more questions?
Another one, sorry. So this revolves around the stability of short-term placements, which is on page 49. I recognise this has improved, but I do worry about children in care experiencing 3 or more placements in 12 months, which can be hugely disruptive. And I'm just trying to understand why we've got 3 placements in 12 months. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Caroline. Short-term stability of children care arrangement has improved in Q3 to 13% from 14.7%, but it's always concerning that be confirmed. So there can be different reasons for this. The service always tries to identify suitable family arrangements for children from day one. However, it's not always possible until further assessments are completed. This may mean children have to then move families to find a different family. And as you know, the foster care capacity has been sometimes 99% and 100%. So when you haven't got that sort of wiggle room within the system, either to place geographically or with the most suitable family, then that can be an issue. But the service continues to drive foster care recruitment. We know how valuable our foster carers are to the authority, and we will support the carers to ensure that we have the least few moves as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Karen, can I come back to you?
With a question from Councillor Caroline Dickinson.
My question is on the use of short-term beds on page 52. The reduction in use is welcomed, but what is driving this? Is it actions that the council has taken or actions by other organisations that work in the health and social care system?
Thank you, I'll answer that. So I'm pleased to say that it's predominantly our activity, and it's pleasing in a way because we've set ourselves a target to reduce the number and the duration of short-term beds, and that activity is now starting to bear fruit. I mean, in some respects, someone's discharged from an acute setting and that hospital or wherever that is will move on to the next patient. And when you look at the people who are in short-term beds in North Yorkshire, the worrying thing from my perspective is that the average length of time they're spending in a short-term bed is 16 weeks. That doesn't feel very short-term to me. And so the actions that we're taking predominantly around making sure that those people are getting the therapeutic support that they need predominantly from the NHS is helping to reduce that number, but it's us taking the proactive action to make sure that the people that are in those beds are getting the support that they need in a more timely manner so that they can then move on to whatever their long-term place of residence is going to be.
Thank you, Michael. Karen, again, I'm coming back to you.
With a few questions from Councillor Alex Essenbaker. Good morning. My first question was prompted by part of the statement on page 61, which said, during this time, no children and young people completed the initial programme of support. And it is, does a greater focus need to be given to children and young people to help ensure that long-term health problems are avoided at this early stage?
Who's going to answer that?
Just show me which page that you're referring to.
program support during this time. No children in the need the program as support. Page 49 in the report, and page 61 from the UK.
Yeah, I suspect this is actually a leisure question to be answered, but can we get that back to?
No children when we need to be.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's because they haven't got to. Yeah, program they're on, so that the data isn't there. But I don't want to assume that that's the case.
Can I bring the director in, please? I think Al might be able to help us with this one. Al, please.
Thank you. So the children who are referred come through the Healthy Child Measurement programme. So that's where we measure the height and weight of children when they are between 4 and 5 and when they're between 10 and 11. So bookending the start of their time in primary school and the end of their time in primary school. And we are working to increase the referrals from that programme into this healthy lifestyles, healthy you service. We have been developing that pathway over the last year. It's only been in place for 1 year, and there has been training needed for the staff that support that and also that support the Healthy Child Measurement programme to make sure we get the nuances right around the children and families that we invite into that programme. So yes, there is more to do, but that work is in progress. Added into that, we're also working to roll out the Best Start in Life programme, which incorporates the healthy getting babies and families off to a good start in relation to their health and their diet, and physical activity is the best preventer.
Thank you. As I say, I was just concerned it said nobody had finished. So I hope to see an improvement in this going forward. Thank you.
Aaron, can I come back to you?
Yes, we have a couple more from Councillor Baker. If you go for the next two.
Thank you very much. The next question, sort of, I think you've probably answered in this. We've noticed obesity rates are rising in 4 to 5 year olds. What is driving this, and what more can be done to address it, which I'm assuming you've answered there, and the rising long-term social, economic and health impacts? Are we seeing any positive impact from the national policies restricting sugar content, junk food advertising, etc.? Shall I do my next question?
No, because I think it's two separate answers you're going to get, isn't it? So, Michael, is this? Would you like to pick up this first question, please?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good example of where public health funding is going towards prevention. On the one hand, it's hard to say exactly what impact it's having, and it's also hard to be absolutely clear on what the underlying causes are. But by focusing on the programs that public health funds with defined endpoints where you either measure whether someone's completed a program, whether they've achieved what they aimed to achieve during that program, it's the best way of measuring success. But why they were in the position that they needed that support in the first place is more difficult to answer, to be perfectly honest with you. But I do think things like the sugar
this is library services. I think I've had a response from this. It would be helpful to have a breakdown of who uses the library services by age and also area in the county. we need to understand what impact the promotional activity is having over the school holidays. And can I just say, I've had a written response to this, Leader, and thank you very much for that. But moving forward, if we could have a breakdown of who's using the services, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ali. Simon, do you want to respond?
Yes, flash of red at me. Yeah, I'm afraid I was pipped to the post by the director, who snapped at the graph, sent it on, so he looked terribly smug and clever, and I was going to do just that. But I will see that goes to the OMS committee, but I think all members actually. I think it's of great interest. The use of our libraries by 5 to 9-year-olds and 10 to 14-year-olds far outstrips any other demographic amongst library users. I think that's really encouraging, and it shows, you know, that this sort of promotional approach, the reading challenges and so on are really having a good effect. As colleagues will know, it's the National Year of Reading. I'd like to see some of the other bands in some of the other demographics improve, because we know where the fall off is nationally in terms of people reading for pleasure. 15 to 19-year-olds, where you see a marked decrease, you know, at the age of 14, 15 in reading. And so it's how do we address those sort of things? But I see that goes to all members, and particularly to the chairman of the ONS committee. And then maybe we will be able to drill down and get some more geographical distinctions, because you know, the statistical fact is nationally that it is in children in the more deprived areas of the country that a dramatic decrease in reading has occurred, and it's one of the imperatives of the National Year of Reading to try and address that. So I think we can do some work on that, get that round.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's an interesting graph. Thank you.
Okay, Karen, are there any more questions on this one?
No, thank you.
Okay, so can we move then to maximise the potential, page 72? And can I ask any of my colleagues if they want to add anything to it? If not, we'll go to scrutiny for questions. So Karen, please.
Yes, we had a couple of questions to be asked by a couple of councillors. Councillor Caroline Goodrick. Thank you, Chair. I noted on page 73 that the timeliness of EHC planned issue had improved dramatically. Large numbers have been issued and the timeliness is definitely improving. And these improvements are obviously really welcomed. What have we done that has led to these improvements, and how can this learning be applied to elsewhere in the council? Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Goodrick. I think the timeliness of the UHC plans being issued has been a spectacular journey, from 8% of plans being issued on time in January 2025 to now 80% plus in January 2026. This was a national issue. It's one that we saw across the country, and there were several reasons for this. But generally, we've provided a more structured approach to the casework, as well as seeing the input from educational psychologists, which I think was one of the greatest problems. You know, there was a national shortage of educational psychologists, and now we've got that in place. But also, we've got more timely information and more robust monitoring each stage of the way. So we're looking at it not just in one direction, but at each stage, not just at that educational psychologist stage. So we track and address delays early, and this is also led from the shift from the 8% to the 80%, as we've noticed. So I think it's a really good news stories. So hopefully it will continue. As to the direction of travel being applied to other parts of the council, I think that's one we can look at and learn some lessons from. Yes, thank you.
My next question, again, is page 73, which relates to permanent exclusions. This always gives me a real worry. The rate of permanent exclusions from schools, particularly primary schools, is high when compared to other local authorities. Why? What is being done to support the schools where there are behavioural issues? And what do we do then with the children who are permanently excluded? Could there be an unmet social care or SEND need that we need to be looking at and assessing when these children are excluded from school? Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor, for your question. Preventative support is offered via commissioned places in the pupil referral units, and schools can also choose to use other alternative provision in order to support children and prevent exclusion from happening. All children who are excluded are required to have education in place from the 6th day after exclusion, and we have recently consulted on extending the age range of the PRUs to deliver this for younger children, given the rise in primary age exclusions. The SEND hubs also continue to offer school support. We have heard the beginnings of a focus towards inclusion in mainstream schools, and we look forward to seeing how the pending SEND reforms will. I don't know if I want to add anything to that. Thank you.
Okay, Karen, can I come back to you?
Thank you. We have a couple of questions from Councillor Alison Baker. Thank you. I'll probably do both together because they're sort of, I think they're connected, and they're also connected to Caroline's question. So I guess the first thing is, I was at a meeting where problems in CAMS and their recruitment, retention was highlighted and was affecting its performance. And so I guess that has an effect on other areas of the work of the council. For example, if a child's not getting the support it's need, the parents probably going to elective home education. And it wouldn't be a scrutiny meeting if I didn't ask about elective home education. So what support is offered to schools and families to maintain school placements and avoid the need for parents to elect to educate their children at home?
Thank you. I'll come to the home education first, please, and then perhaps our colleagues in health or Elle might want to come on the CAMS issue. For some families, elective home education is a positive choice, which follows their beliefs and values. And our schools will continue to work with families to avoid elective home education where possible, and we offer a pre-decision meeting where we support and discuss the discussion between schools and families to ensure that EHE is only chosen for families when they fully understand the implications for them and their responsibility for the child's education. We have added capacity So we have adequate additional capacity this school year, and in the autumn term for the number of pupils becoming EHE has decreased compared to previous years. And these are early signs, and we will continue to focus our resources on this area. Do you want to come in at all?
Yes, thank you. We also have a suite of services and support that we can offer to children and families through our early help services as well. We work in partnership with our health colleagues, including regular performance meetings with our providers and our Healthy Child Service, Harrogate District Foundation Trust, and we can share this data in future if that's helpful.
No, there isn't, thank you.
Okay, so then let's move to the final one. One council. Any colleague want to come in on one council? No, in that case, Karen, can I come to you for questions?
We actually have one question on one council. So moving over to Councillor Andrew Williams, please.
Can I just first of all, before I ask my question, just raise the issue of the sound quality in this room, and in particular the output that it's producing online to people who are actually trying to watch this morning. I've actually had two messages whilst we've been doing this morning. One from a journalist at the York Mix who would actually like to use and promote the work that we're doing here this morning, and he says that the output of the quality is so poor that you couldn't actually use it anywhere. And a second comment that I've had is that we sound as if we're underwater. Well, that might well be an appealing prospect to many residents across North Yorkshire, but quite seriously, given the size of the authority and the fact that members of the public can't regularly attend our meetings, it's important that they can actually follow our meetings if they're trying to online, and that is clearly an issue at present. So can I ask that we look at that? I'm not expecting an instant answer this morning, but we have seen two of the microphones had to be replaced during the course of the meeting, and I was at a TE&E meeting not so long since where, quite frankly, every few minutes the microphones were having to be replaced.
Yeah, Andrew, can I assure you we've already had the conversation at this end of the table? Would you like to ask your question?
Indeed, yes. Benefit processing times are improving, which is very welcome, but still higher than target. So there's clearly still work to be done. What is planned to be done to improve the processing times?
Okay, Gareth, can I come to you, please?
Yeah, I'll be very brief. It is largely an operational issue, but nonetheless extremely important that I accept. Our performance below target is in the main tied up with the convergence of the IT systems that has been historic but now rolled out. I'll also add that I know that Gary's asking your scrutiny committee, as it happens, corporate scrutiny, to look at this in a bit more detail because we think there's a more positive story to tell going forward. But I know Gary would like to add to that.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, as Gareth said, it's scheduled on the 16th of March, I believe. So we'll go into this in much greater depth. The system was consolidated, as Gareth says, in the summer, and there was a 6-week spell where the system was down. Then when it was back up, the backlog was having to be chased down. So officers have been doing extra time, overtime, working weekends to try and capture that back. As you can see, it's heading in the right direction. And if you look at the processing of housing benefit claims, the existing changes, so RE16, existing is 11.67 days, which is within the national target, because the national target's wrong on this, so apologies. The national target for existing cases should be 16, but we set a local target of 7 days. So we're not hitting our local target, but we are hitting the national target, and the national target is dictated by DWP.
Okay, thank you, Gary. So Karen, does that conclude the questions from scrutiny?
That completely concludes the questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So we've done the performance management. Let's move on, please, to the revenue budget. Gareth, can I?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm going to
Right.
I'm going to be very brief indeed. Well, that seems to have stopped on now. I'll be very brief indeed with this. Just to summarise, there's been a slight deterioration in health and adult services. There's been a further £2 million deterioration in chips. That will result, and it's a fairly serious point, this, in this year, a £13 million overspend in CYPS. That's clearly got to be tackled moving forward. We have put growth in next year, as you will know from Friday's discussions within the chamber, but that's growth for 1 year. I would suggest that over the next 12 months, we really do need to take a microscope to the operations of that department, because clearly it can't continue. In summary, we have had overall a better position by about £3 million compared to Q2's outturn, but we're still facing an overspend of about 4.6 million. But just to put that into context, the quantum sounds a lot, but it's still only 0.72% of the operational budget. There is a recommendation as well on a project called Prevention Plus. I'm going to ask Michael to speak to that because he's far closer to it than I, but it does involve substantial investment by this authority. So I don't know whether, firstly, Gary wants to add anything to the narrative on the revenue.
Yeah, this is a really positive endorsement of what Health and Adult Services can, despite the constraints that Gareth's just outlined in the revenue budget. Investing up to £3.6 million over 3 years really takes an initiative forward that builds on some of the other initiatives that we've taken forward as a council throughout the years: stronger communities, extra care housing, living well. And Prevention Plus is really trying to intervene in a positive way in people's lives before they need a statutory service. And it's not just a North Yorkshire statutory service we're talking about here, it's NHS statutory services as well. So this is a pilot, and it's building on our strong relationships that we've got with our community anchor organisations to fund caseworkers in areas across the county to try and ultimately prevent people needing statutory services. So there's much more detail behind this, but I think the point is that I think this council's really does have a track record. Whilst we're looking at budget constraints, looking at budget deficits, that hasn't stopped us in investing things that will make have a real benefit for residents, but also on our long-term revenue. So this is a really positive item within this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Anybody got any questions or comments they want to make on that, or anything else on the revenue budget? Can't see any hands going up, in which case, Gareth, would you like to move the recommendations?
I'll formally move the recommendations as printed.
Okay, and I'm happy to second them. So can I have a show of hands, please? Those in favour? Right, that's unanimous. Can we move on then, please, to Treasury Management? Gareth?
Just
Okay, so again, Gareth, would you like to move the recommendations?
formally move.
Thank you, and I'll second them. And can we note our thanks in advance for the audit committee, who will consider this in greater detail at their meeting. Okay, again, show of hands, please. Thank you, that's unanimous. And finally, Gareth, the capital plan, please.
Yeah, you will see the usual recommendation in there with a couple more, but the one that I just want to highlight, where was it? Oh yes, we've put in there a suggestion of 175k to deliver the elementary technology to 15 public convenience sites, pending approval of proposals to be presented to executive. And it's been suggested informally, why have we done this ahead of an executive decision? It's because when it comes to money, we like it in the quarter outturn reports. We may not need this if the executive, this is not preempting a decision on pay to, I better be polite here, on pay to entry public conveniences. It's just so it's there so they can get on with it should we approve it.
Okay, anybody got any questions or comments on the capital plan? No. Sorry, Gary.
Just to note, it's there, you've got an extension of 2 loans with your West and Bracewell homes. Just wanted to make sure they're cited, but they're an existing loan and it's just rolling those forward. So nothing particularly interesting other than that. I just wanted to make sure members were cited.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. So anybody want to come in then following what Gary said? No. Gareth, can you move the recommendations?
Formally move.
Okay, and I'll second them. And can we have a show of hands on these, please? Again, that's unanimous.
Yeah, this is a matter of legal. This is a matter of a legal requirement for us to report our pay policy on a yearly basis. There's nothing changed at all since last year in terms of the principles of it. So unless there's any questions, I'll just formally move.
Questions on this? It's a recommendation going to full council. So it's been moved. Don't need a show of hands for this, just nods around the table. That will do me. Thank you. And then moving on to item 7. So Annabelle, can I come to you, please, to introduce this?
Thank you, Leader. During 2025, the Department for Education reviewed previously approved free school schemes. In today's report, the DfE has invited the council to choose between new 120 place special school . Did you hear the first option? Okay, right, thank you. Or the second option, proceeding with the delivery of a new 120 place special school for children with social, emotional and mental health needs on the former North Allerton school site at Grammar School Lane. The report before you outlines the benefits and risks of both options and recommends that the executive ask the DfE to continue with the delivery of the new school. The report sets out several reasons why the school remains needed within the current system. Demand has continued to rise as expected. The proposed location supports children in the north of the county, and there is potential for reduced dependency on independent schools, often much further away. Going ahead does bring some risks. Future decisions about schools will be taken outside of the council by the DfE. There is potential for SEND reforms to affect the patterns of demand and unknown high needs capital allowances. There is the alternative option of accepting the £5.6 million grant, and the potential benefits include a greater flexibility to expand our TMPs, our targeted mainstream provision, and specialist satellites. Removal of risk around the DFE cancelling the scheme at a later point, and the council can come laying site. However, the report notes the key risks, which are that grant alone is insufficient for the council to build a specialist school. There is currently a reliance on independent school places, and we are still awaiting details of the reforms. I'm happy to take any questions, Leader. I hope you heard that all okay.
Okay, anybody got any questions about this? Nope. Okay, in that case, move the recommendation, please.
Yes, please. I'd like to formally move the recommendations at point 13. For 1, the executive declines the £5.6 million grant at this time. 2, requests that the DFE proceeds with the delivery of the special school in Northallerton. And 3, confirms that the council remains open to further discussions once national SEND reforms are published and understood. Thank you.
Is that seconded? Thank you, Janet. Okay, can we have a show of hands on this, please? All those in favour? Again, that's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Let's move on then to item 8, loan facility for Scarborough Athletic. And Mal, you're going to leave the room. Thank you. And Simon, can I ask you to introduce this item, please?
Thank you, Ludo. Members will know, and I think it may even be mentioned by the press on the post. I'll try and be quick, actually, because this is that we are in the process of refurbishing the football pitch used by Scarborough Athletic Football Club, and we seem to have resolved it in a positive way, both for the football club and for the council. And it is hoped the work will be done by the start. Now we recognise that for the council, and this work has required them to move out and play this season down in Bridlington. Revenue from ticket sales, from hospitality, and so on. We're very anxious that the football club, which is owned by its members, continues to thrive, provide opportunities young people in Scarborough through the programs they run there, and generally contributes to the well-being of Scarborough. It is a much loved football club. We decided not to spend the money on an IT system that works, or things that mean our meetings can be heard. We're going to lend it. No, seriously, the proposal is that we make a loan of up to £150,000 available in commercial terms. to help them over a difficult cash flow situation. And we have every confidence that they will repay this, that they'll only use the loan if they need to, and we may incentivise them to do just that with a small grant towards interest payments. But the proposal is at paragraph 16 of the report, and I think if I just read them out, to award Scarborough Athletic a loan on commercial terms up to the football club with a grant contributes towards the value of any interest charged. And then that an important part that the terms of the loan and the accompanying grant be delegated to the corporate director of resources in consultation with the executive member for finance. So that those terms and the nature of any grant given can be determined. Generous Gary and Gareth.
Thank you, Simon. Okay.
Okay, I think that's working. Thank you very much, Leader. I think this is a good idea. However, I've got some concerns. Is this if there's more problems? I don't want to be coming here 2 years' time and saying, oh, it's another £150,000 or another £250,000. That's the only concern I have. Thank you very much.
Councillor Myers, would you like to answer Councillor Foster?
Yes. Yes. No. It is. This is. There's been a lot of work done on this by Joe, Nick, and Gary and his team. This is a realistic loan to get them over this hump. We long term, but this is to get them over a very difficult period. We hope they won't need to use the loan. It would be best for them if they didn't, but it's there should they need it.
Yeah. Thank you, Simon. Gary, would you like to come in?
Thanks, Chair. As part of the agreement around the loan, what we'll want to do is talk to the club about some due diligence effectively. So wanting to know, they've said £150,000, so we need to look at that and work out what their needs are. So as part of that conversation, it'll be made clear, but we want to have a two-way conversation with them, which is why we're asking for delegated authority rather than presenting you with the terms. But it's quite clear that at this point, the authority is only for £150,000 with the loan maximum.
Thank you, Gary. Mark, I think you wanted to come in.
Yeah, just briefly, when I was leader of Selby, we lent Selby Town Football Club £100,000. I'm pleased to say it was repaid in full. And it was for a specific reason. And normally I'd be reticent to support something like this, but I think given the circumstances behind why they need it, it's welcome that the council is doing this. And I'm sure the good people of Scarborough will recognise the money we're investing and giving to them. And I'm very happy to support and second Simon's recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Anybody else want to come in? Steve, please.
Thanks. It's probably the reason people from Filey are moving to Bridlington, then they can watch Scarborough Football Club.
Okay, anybody else? Heather, please.
Thank you, Leader. As representative. I'm happy to see that North Yorkshire are continuing to support communities like Scarborough, because the football pitch is not just used by the club, it is a community facility. And I know that Joe has been very proactive in communicating that to the area committee, and I look forward to seeing football back at Scarborough at that level. My own enthusiasm for football far outstrips my actual skills in it, so I hope nobody's wanting anyone to run around on the pitch when it is actually repaired. I think, Simon, that will be up to you, dear.
Okay, anybody else want to come in? It's show of hands, please, those in favour. Again, that is unanimous. Thank you. Move on then, please, to item 9, the forward plan. Anything from the forward plan?
Yeah, thank you. March 17th is going to be quite a busy meeting. We've got some of the very long-running items on there, like Morecambe, and hopefully see some small items like the cliff lift and affordable housing and accommodation brought forward to that. Thank you.
Okay, anybody got anything to note on the forward plan? Councillor Williams?
Yeah, I had a look on the forward plan and I can't see anywhere included on it at the moment the excellent deal which Councillor Brodigan conceded was my word and not hers on Friday's meeting, should I say, in respect to double devolution.
The final item, there is one item of late business. It's a couple of nominations to internal drainage boards. I think they've been circulated. Is that right? Yeah. So again, can we just agree those, please? The reason why I brought it forward as an urgent item is if we don't do it today, they don't get appointed for another month. And I think the drainage boards are always willing to recruit. So just one more. It's just one today, right? Okay, so we can agree that. So with that, can I thank Michael?
Angelina, just before we close the meeting, I wondered if you might. As you're all aware, Director of Adult Social Care is leaving the authority for pastures new, and this is his last attendance at an executive meeting. So I would like to place on record my thanks to Richard Webb for his dedication and efforts working for North Yorkshire Council over and for his support for me as executive member. Thank you.
I'd second that.
Yeah, just to add to that, I'm still not quite sure that Richard's made the right decision. I think you'll I think you've got in a very different future of your Councillor Richard. But on a serious note as well, I know that Karen is here as the present chair of the scrutiny board. I think we should place on record our thanks for the way that she's led held her in from scrutiny board, challenged us appropriately, but always been courteous in doing so.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, I know, I bear it in mind and the was of course a considerable amount of work for officers. Richard headed up quite a lot of my portfolio. He was extremely helpful, extremely positive, did far more than the day job requires of him. And I know that I and all those who work in that element of the directorate very grateful to for all the work he did on creating the new North Yorkshire Council.